fantasy fans, sci-fi fans. As always, I'm Shay from the channel Zachary Shay, narrator of The Gallant by Janny Wirtz, avid fantasy and sci-fi fan. And today I want to talk about one of my favorite series of all time. Currently, I would say it's either in my top 5 or right outside the top 5, and that is Sun Eater by Cristopher Ruocchio. Amazing series. But I wanted to talk about, I think one of the things Ruocchio does best is his characterization. This is a book series where you can tell that Ruocchio has thought through all these characters' different psyches. And, you know, it's really on full display when you read the novellas and stuff, because you're getting Hadrian's perspective this whole time. You can tell that, like, when these characters are not around Hadrian, when they're not in his vicinity, that they are still growing and changing. You look at Lorien, you look at Crispin, and these are just two examples of amazing character work by Ruocchio. But yeah, so I just wanted to go over my top 10 Sun Eater characters. I do have some honorable mentions, and yeah, so this will be spoilers vague. It'll be spoilers vague for the overall series, but if you don't want to even know like my opinions on different characters, then yeah, I mean, some people would consider that spoilers, so I'm just letting you know now. There is a mild spoiler warning, but I'm not going to like spoil the end of the series like Ruocchio does in the opening pages of Empire of Silence. So with no further ado, we're going to get into my honorable mentions. In honorable mention number 1, we have Switch. Switch was the last to approach with a small sheepish grin. I embraced the fellow, saying, "I'm glad you're here, Will." He pushed me back, punched my arm. "Just call me Switch, Lordship, or whatever." "Only if you call me Hade," I said, and I looked around at the friends who had known me as such. "With you all, I'll always be just Hade." So because of things that occur in the plot, Switch does not feature prominently within this series. That being said, I do think the relationship he had with young Hade, the gladiator, you know, I think that relationship was very instrumental. Much like Cat, it formed the younger Hadrian's coming of age, and it was very vital for Hadrian as he developed, and I thought Switch was a very compelling character within his own right. My next honorable mention is going to be Selene. Her brows knit. "Mother Earth, save me, do you remember?" I took her hand. It wasn't Mother Earth. "You weren't there," she said. "You didn't see her." "Selene, Mother Earth can't save anyone." Her eyes narrowed and she shook her head, bright red hair making shining waves. "How can you have no faith in yourself, in anything?" She set her jaw, and for a moment I saw an echo of her father. "I thought your God sent you. Don't you believe in him?" I had no answer. There was no answer. Not from me, not from him. Samuel Rukin pronounces it Selene, but I believe I heard Ruocchio say it's Selene. I say Selene in my head because that's the way I heard it in the audiobook, but I actually really enjoyed Selene as a character. I thought she was a great character. You can tell she's very selfless. She does care about Hadrian, but much like with Switch, because of the plot, you don't see her as much as some of these other characters. I think she has potential to be in the top 10, but because we don't get as much page time with her, she was not that high. And then next up we have Orphan. Orphan let its hand fall, hiked up the hem of its robe as one of the Uthras scuttled by. "The damage is repaired," it said, voice high and breathless. "But the wounds we sustained will never really heal." "What's the difference?" I asked, not following and momentarily glad of the change of subject. "There were memories." Orphan peered upward, twin faces illuminated in that moment by the glow of the lamps above. It reached out with its strong right arm, brushed the nearest curtain, resembling a vintner proud of and concerned for his vines. "Thoughts which can never be regained. You think of this ship as a machine." "And it is," the deep voice interjected, prompting the other to look at the other head reproachful. "But it is more. It is alive, and living things do not heal straight. There is scarring," the black-haired face explained, peering at me with eyes dark as the night without a star. "And loss." Orphan's a really interesting character. This is my last honorable mention. He's kind of like the Gollum of Sun Eater, and he doesn't really feature prominently until the final book in the series. And he was just a lot of fun. I think Samuel Rukin did a lot of fun stuff with his voice, and he's just like a very weird, interesting character that's fun to, you know, every scene he's in, he does kind of steal the scene. He's very, very interesting. I lied. I do have one more honorable mention, and that is Basander Lin. But there is yet truth in their stories, namely Basander Lin, the Phoenix of Perfugium. I was not with him in his hour of glory, whatever the stories say, nor was his victory my failure. I did not even see it, unless it was in those red flashes in our sky. As I stood there, hollow and broken again, Lin pulled off one of the most stunning rescues in Imperial naval history. His fleet scattered, his ships outgunned, but Sander Lin managed to intercept and salvage the refugees who had escaped Rizona and Perfugium's gravity entire. 623 ships had made it into orbit in those first 4 waves. More than 300,000 people. Lin saved 606. So many, so few. This is a character that grew throughout the series and continued to change and was very interesting to follow. I liked Pasander Lin a lot. He was almost the number 10 spot, but then I realized I forgot a character that definitely needs to be in the top 10. So yeah, Pasander Lin, amazing character in his own right. Very interesting seeing how him and the duality between him and Hadrian shifts throughout the whole series. He's kind of, he starts out as Hadrian's sort of rival, turned friend, turned rival again, turned confidant. Their relationship's very nuanced, and that's why Pasander would be in my top 10 if I had not forgotten this one character that I definitely needed to add to the top 10. So at my number 10 spot, we have Octavia Corvo. I think it was Octavia of whom the ancient Herodotus spoke of when he wrote of the Amazons. Whether by design or by incident of nature, she stood nearly 7 feet high as a palatine. Even sitting, she radiated the threat of the coiled serpent. Arms crossed, broad shoulders hunched, betraying the corded muscle that hid beneath the crimson uniform. She was less dark than her ebon-skinned second-in-command, with long golden hair that tangled and defied the ship's gravity and played about her face like mane. She alone of all our captains was true-blooded mercenary, and knew no oath to Jad or to the solar throne. She was free and fierce, and her word was final. Yeah, this character is awesome. She's a mercenary turned member of the Red Company, one of Hadrian's closest friends and one of his, most capable subordinates. She's one of my favorite characters from the Red Company. Not my favorite. There will be more characters from the Red Company on this list, but I think she's very memorable and she's one of my favorite characters within the series. Everybody loves and respects Octavia Corvo in the Red Company, and Hadrian especially by the way, she can whoop ass better than almost anyone in this series. If you've read the short story from her perspective, oh, it's so badass. At my number 9 spot, we have William of the Aventine House, the Emperor of Man. Whatever you may think of me, know this. Seldom has man known a ruler like William Caesar, but question not the goodness of the Emperor. The boy on Delos I once was believed that all the lords of our Imperium were as my father. Many are, but the lord of the Imperium, the sovereign of those 500 million sons, he was of another cloth entire. So William, I thought the dynamic between William and Hadrian was very interesting because you have to see the cracks in the facade that is William the Emperor, and you see William the man. And, it's hard to be a great man. It's hard to be a good man. It's like impossible to be both, but somehow William walks that line. He is a good man, or at least as good as he can be within the role he has to fulfill for the Empire. He is an amazing character. I absolutely adore the character of William. He has so much aura. He definitely commands every scene he's in. He has some flubs. He has one specific scene where he makes a comment that everyone who's read that point in the series, at the end of Ashes of Man, he definitely pissed me off, but he is an amazing character. I just love the character of William and his relationship with Hadrian. His relationship is so strong with Hadrian because no one else can truly understand him except for Hadrian. Not his children, not his wife, not his daughter Selene, definitely not Alexander. Hadrian's the only one that knows what it feels like to be put on this demigod-like status, and no man can embody that without feeling some isolation. And that is why their relationship works so well. At my number 8 spot, we have Crispin. I always wanted to be like him. He was always better than me. A better student, a better fighter, better everything. This is the only other Marlowe on the list. And I put Crispin on here, even though he doesn't feature that much in the series at all, mainly because of the novella The Lesser Devil. It really plays with Hadrian's perspective versus the reality, and like Crispin is not as bad of a kid as Hadrian thought him to be. I mean, he's definitely got some faults, but Crispin does have a good heart, and he's not ill-intentioned. He's ignorant, but he's not cruel like their father. I love that the Lesser Devil and some of the short stories really shined a light on Crispin and showed the depth of his humanity, and I really appreciate Crispin as a character. I think he's great. And yeah, I definitely appreciate that Ruocchio was able to delve into this character and tell a story that was related to the main series but not integral, but it is integral in understanding the fallible nature of Hadrian's narration. Now, I think Hadrian does give as accurate an accounting of events as he possibly can. He's not trying to be an unreliable narrator in any way. He's not misleading us, the reader, but he's subjective and he can't give us an objective truth. And one of his subjectivities that was incorrect was the nature of Crispin's character. And again, Crispin grew a lot since book one. So it could be that, Hadrian was right about Crispin at that set time, but people grow and people change. But I do think he was a little harsher on Crispin, even the younger, more immature Crispin that we knew in Empire of Silence. All right, and my number 7 spot is Cassandra. All cold she was and far away, haunted like, and her eyes, they were light years gone. She never smiled, not that I ever saw, not once. Too much of her father in her, if you take my meaning. So slight spoilers for Disquiet Gods and Empire of Silence. If you haven't read those books, I'd skip to a later section. You can use the thumbnail, scroll down below, skip to the next entry. But my number 7 spot is Cassandra Marlowe. Yeah, Cassandra. Love her character because we really get to see Hadrian the father, and we get to see how he would carry on his legacy and him and Volca's legacy. It's just, their relationship is very beautiful. I do think, people talk about Ruocchio is better at writing male characters, and I think that's very true. And I hope that if he returns to this series in the future, he hones that a little bit. Because on this list, I have like 7 male characters and 3 female characters, Cassandra being one of them. I think he could have a sequel series to Sun Eater following Cassandra. I would really love that. But I think he needs to get her characterization down a little bit better. Right now, it's still very solid. I love the character of Cassandra. I love her relationship with Hadrian. But mostly, I love seeing Hadrian's affection for Cassandra and his protectiveness and the way he will go to any lengths to protect not only his daughter, but the last remnant of the woman he loves. It is beautiful, beautiful work done with this father-daughter relationship. I think it's perfect. I think it's perfect. I just think for a Cassandra-led series, her characterization needs to be tweaked. He needs to, not to say that his female character writing is bad by any means. I don't think it's bad at all. I just think if you were to compare his male characters to his female characters, I do think the male characters come out on top, but I don't think he's bad at writing female characters. I think a Cassandra series could really work. And an integral part of that series, so my number 6 spot is going to be Edward Albay. For the first time, it was Edward's turn to hesitate. My brother Germain will be Lord Crispin's lictor after father. He almost laughed, a short puff of air escaping him. I thought it would be me. A similar almost laugh escaped me, and for the first time I saw myself in the younger man, a thing I'd not expected to find. Are you the elder brother? I asked. My father had passed me over for Crispin, had meant to send me away. I am, he answered, but Germain is the better sword. Perhaps he's where he should be then, I said. Perhaps we both are, Albay said, but I am glad I found you, lordship. You Marlowes need minding. I love this character. Despite him having a really short amount of time within the series, Disquiet Gods and Shadows Upon Time, he really stole every scene he was in. I loved his relationship with Hadrian. I loved his relationship with Cassandra. I loved the examination of the Catholic faith that Ruocchio was doing here. And I just really enjoyed every scene with him in it. I liked Edward Albay a lot. I don't have a lot to say about his character because, as I said, he was in a relatively short amount of the series, but the fact that I would put him over the Emperor of Man, that I would put him over Octavia Corvo, says, volumes about how nuanced of a character he is. When he would pray for Cassandra after she was wounded, I thought that was just a beautiful, beautiful scene. I really, really, really enjoyed his character. At my number 5 spot, we have a character that I forgot until as I was filming this, and I was like, wait, no, they've got to be on the top 10. And I just had to quickly categorize them. But I completely forgot about this character because because I mainly think of heroes when I think of a book, and I don't include a lot of villains in these type of lists, which is probably a flaw on me. But Karn Sagara.
Wars end, war does not, and I am not much troubled what form our wars take. For over 15,000 years now, your empire has warred across the galaxy. What is it to me who sits on your solar throne, or how long its sway?
Karn Sagara is, in my opinion, modeled after the necromancer type character in epic fantasy novels. He raises the dead. He tries to prolong his life. He tries to find some form of immortality. And Karn Sagara is such a captivating character. There's a lot of echoes of Robert Chambers' The King in Yellow. He feels very Lovecraftian despite his sci-fi nature. He's very terrifying and also larger than life. I mean, he's one of the longest living organism within the Sun Eater series. He feels godlike in a way, definitely with the god complex. Karn Sagara, oh man, and he's such an evil bastard, but he is electrifying, just such a presence on the page. Number 4, we have my boy, Polino.
Absurdly, Polino smiled. Then I'll be seeing Alaris sooner than I thought. See Gen too, and Switch and the rest. I'll tell them Hadrian said hello. His eyes focused on some point beyond my shoulder, and his lips hardly moved. You give them hell now, he said.
Polino is such a badass character. I love Polino. Love Polino. From Empire of Silence to Demon in White, he was my favorite character over Hadrian. And then in Kingdoms of Death, I'm like, okay, Hadrian has to be my favorite. But there's a scene in Demon in White, slight spoiler here, spoilers for Demon in White. But whenever Polino, like when Hadrian's going down to the planet and he knows that Polino won't let him go alone, he makes the men hold him down, and Polino's fighting off like 5 guys just so he wouldn't let Hadrian go in alone. Polino is Hadrian's big brother, his father, all rolled into one. Such an amazing character. So. I absolutely adore this character. Yeah, I think Polino is brilliant. And at my number 3 spot, we are going to have Valka.
She was like a glass image of a woman, hard-eyed, thin, pale. Do not mistake me. I do not mean that she was fragile. Rather, one could not encounter her without being cut. Thus it was for me. The bone cutters who had shaped her genetic makeup had fashioned a creature remote as Pallas. Tall she was, and beautiful, and severe.
Yeah, you can't have Sun Eater without Valka. I think besides Hadrian, she's the most vital character to this whole series. She is Hadrian's other half. Their love is, in the first book, she's very frustrating, but by the end of the series, you can't imagine Hadrian without Valka. Spoilers for Ashes of Man on, but when he says he would rather suffer at the hands of Siriani Doriaker 100 more times than to stand the silence of a world without Valka in it. And it's a silence that he has dealt with longer than they knew each other. The time he spent without Valka is now longer than the time with Valka. And to just know that like Hadrian felt that silence for all of those centuries is heartbreaking. And Valka definitely left a mark on Hadrian's heart and on the reader's heart. I love Valka as a character. Then number 2, the only character that could be number 2 in this series, the only character that could beat out Valka is Lorien Aristides.
I am not afraid to die, because I know this is not the end for us. We are all of us trapped in an endless cycle of life and death and rebirth. What matters is what we do within that cycle. Right understanding, right thought, right speech.
I love Lorien Aristides. I think he is a fascinating character. Such an amazing strategos, such a good foil for Hadrian. And they even mention, in the final book, spoiler warning, that he would have been the Quiet's champion, perhaps, if Hadrian had not become who Hadrian is. And I think Lorien's just so capable. His friendship with Hadrian is a beautiful thing. His affection for Valka, I love. And this series would not be what it is without Lorien Aristides. All right, and before we get into my number 1 spot, I have a character that I also forgot to put on this list, much like Karn Sagara. But as I was talking about Polino, you could probably see the light in my eyes as I made the realization. I didn't include Tor Gibson on this list.
Deep truths there may be, but none is deeper than this. Those lost to us do not return, nor the years turn back. Rather it is that we carry a piece of those lost to us within ourselves, or on our backs. Thus, ghosts are real, and we never escape them.
Tor Gibson should definitely be on this list, but I'm not about to re-record all those entries. So Tor Gibson, he's the best dad out of 10 on this list. Yeah, I don't know where to rank him. Probably before Cassandra, if I'm being honest. But yeah, Tor Gibson, without him, we would not have Hadrian, the scholiast that was a father to, the half-mortal. I love Tor Gibson. Every scene he's in, you can just feel Hadrian opening up in ways that he doesn't for anyone else. And that's a relationship that the closeness, it's different, his relationship with Valka. It's different, his relationship with Polino. But I believe the relationship he had with Tor Gibson was the only one who knew him as a boy. I just think that Gibson has a relationship with Hadrian that is unmatched by anyone else in this cast of characters. And number one, it's, even if you're not the type of person who likes main characters, which I would consider myself that, I'm usually drawn to side characters. I'm not a protagonist kind of guy. Aside from like Hadrian and Fitz from Realm of the Elderlings, you cannot help but have Hadrian as your favorite character.
I told you once that the universe has no center, and thus every point is its center, and it is so. If I have strained you, reader, by my repeated insistence that every action matters, that every moment of every life is the moment, the axis about which all things turn, understand that I say these things because they are true. Every step, every turn, every refusal to step, everything matters. The cosmos is not cold or indifferent because we are not indifferent, and we are a part of that cosmos, of that grand order which has dropped from the land of He who created it. Every decision creates its ripples, every moment burns its mark on time. Every action leads us ever nearer to that last day, that final last battle, and the answer to that last question, darkness or light.
He is one of the greatest first-person narrations, one of the greatest protagonists of any series I've ever read in my entire life. If I were to think of other protagonists that are on par with him, Fitz from Realm of the Elderlings, Arathon from Wars of Light and Shadow, but it's a very short list. And he probably has my favorite narration in all of sci-fi fantasy. His first-person narration, the nuances that Ruocchio leaves these breadcrumbs to differentiate between Hadrian, the person telling the story, and Hadrian, the person living the story. Present-day Hadrian is a very different man from the Hadrian we pick up with in Empires of Silence. And there's so much growth that this character goes through. He's such a nuanced character. I mean, it's really unrivaled, the amount of nuance found within the character of Hadrian Alexander Marlowe. He makes this series, it's impossible to think of Sun Eater without thinking of the Sun Eater, the half-mortal. And I think Hadrian holds the spot as my favorite sci-fi character of all time. Sorry, Cassius from Red Rising, you got dethroned. He's number 2. But yeah, not only my favorite sci-fi character of all time, of the sci-fi fantasy, if you were to combine the genre, I would say he's top 5 for me. Top 5 fictional characters within the sci-fi fantasy genre, and he holds that place for very good reason. He's a fascinating character that I love reading about. So let me know who your favorite characters are, if I missed anybody. I mean, I know I missed some people, but I'm sure I missed more. And let me know down in the comment section below which characters are your favorite. And as always, stay safe, guys.
Peace.